Hello, my name's Michael. I am the Clinical Health Educator for Polio Australia. During this COVID period, we've had a few requests for exercise at home ideas, and so this video serves to fill that void. We should consider previous advice when it comes to starting exercises for the first time. If you've had experience with exercise physiologists or physiotherapists who have provided you with exercises for a particular body region, it'd be a good idea to start at that number of repetitions or those durations that were prescribed for those. If you have access to those, or you can remember some of them, it may be an idea to go back and restart or retry some of those as a way of getting back into exercise. The exercises that we provide in this particular video are fairly straightforward. They don't require any special equipment, and what you have within your home should be sufficient to perform most of them. We encourage you to resume a formal exercise individualized program with your local healthcare team when the opportunity becomes available. In the interim, maybe these exercises can tide you over. In looking at exercises in general, there's a few elements to what we term exercise. Strength is one element, which is the ability to move a load or a weight under resistance, and that includes power. Flexibility, which is range of motion of the joints and length of the muscles. Endurance, control, which is balance. Skill, which is how you execute a task. We'll not look at endurance or control in this particular video. We're basically looking at a few stretches and then a few strength exercises. Another important thing to remember is that you work within your current ability, and if you require assistance or some kind of supervision to get in and out of the positions, please do so. Please request that help. And finally, with regard to performing a new exercise routine for the first time, no one is immune to that soreness or the fatigue that comes on. So just be conservative in your initial sessions going through this video and see if you can build from that point. I'll catch up with you at the end of the exercises to recap this video and to give other advice. This is the leg hang stretch. It is called the leg hang stretch because essentially you are going to hang the leg that is closest to the front of the edge off the edge so that the foot rests on the floor. This can be done on either a bed or on a couch, whichever seems most practical and has a height that matches the length of your shin. To do the stretch, start with laying centrally on the couch, both knees bent, both feet flat, then carefully slide the leg closest to the front edge off to rest on the ground. You can see in this position where the trunk and the hip and the knee joints are, they line up fairly straight. Those people who spend a lot of time sitting, and as we age naturally, the muscles at the front of the thigh and the hip tighten up. So this is a good one for posture and for comfort in standing, and to give your low back some relief. So we assume this position for 1 to 2 minutes in a relaxed state. If the surface you're on is a little bit too high, or if the stretch is unable to be tolerated for 1 to 2 minutes, you can put something under the foot to take a little bit of the strain out. This should enable you to reach the 1 to 2 minutes. You can progress this stretch from this position by removing the block or by going to a higher surface. This is obviously just for the left leg. To do the right leg, we simply sit up, turn around, change position, starting with both feet flat, getting comfortable, and then lowering the leg off the side. A further 1 to 2 minutes in this position. If you have a soft couch or edge of the bed, you need to be careful that you don't feel like you are going to roll off the side. You won't be able to relax, and we don't want you to have to get up off the floor. On a larger bed, you can angle your trunk in towards the middle of the bed, which gives you a much more secure position. It's kind of like the position just before you go to get out of bed. On a couch, you can hang on to the backrest to keep yourself secure. This was the leg hang stretch. This is the overarm prayer stretch. This is for the shoulders and the muscles that go to the sides of the back. You start in the laying hook lying position, which is flat with hips and knees bent and feet flat. This can be done on a couch or on a bed. Clasping the hands together, take the hands together over the top of the head so that the elbows remain fairly close to your head, roughly pointing at the ceiling, and then you should feel a stretch in the front side of the trunk and shoulders. If you have low back strain in this position, then bring your knees into a more bent position, rest them on a box or another pillow. Maintain this position for 1 to 2 minutes. If you cannot tolerate the hands being flat on the bed above you, start by having a pillow or two in that position so that your arms come to a rest in a less aggressive position. The stronger and more flexible arm should help any weaker or less flexible or tighter arm to get into position and also to return to the starting position. Start with 30 seconds to a minute and see if you can build to about 2 minutes. This is a posture and trunk and shoulder stretch. We tend to get tight with our shoulders hunched forward, and this brings them back and up to a raised position. By no means do you need to get completely straight arms over the top of your head, because we rarely reach that position in function during our daily life anyway. But if we can get our hands up above the head and get a stretch there, then that should prove beneficial. This was the overhead prayer stretch with the arms. This is the plank exercise. This is not a stretch, but an exercise where you do several to many repetitions depending on the strength of your quads, the front of the thigh, hip extensors or glutes at the back of the hip, and low back extensor muscles. In a laying position, find something that is fairly firm, like a dense pillow or a few cans of paint, empty cans, taped together, or a firmly rolled up blanket. Place that under the knees, the heels touching the bed or couch on the other side. The first repetition will go like this. Straighten both knees so that the feet and heels come off the surface, and then tighten the glutes at the back of the hips to raise the hips. And what you'll see is a fairly straight line from ankles through knees, through hips, through trunk. So we're only going as far as neutral. We do not want to overarch, which would be an exaggeration and is not entirely functional. We hold the position for a few seconds and check for symmetry, keeping breathing in a relaxed manner, and then lowering the hips, lowering the feet. Take a break for a few seconds and then repeat that. Like we said earlier, if you have had therapist or exercise physiologist describe the repetitions that you should keep within for your exercises, that number would be a good place to start. Keep in mind that we're exercising some large muscle groups in the body with this one exercise. Even though it looks fairly easy, just remember that your legs are coming up and your hips are coming up against the weight of gravity. This is the plank exercise. This is the towel pull exercise. This is done in number of repetitions like the other strength exercises. To start, find something that is non-flexible and non-elastic, such as a belt, a tea towel, or a folded pillowcase. Fold it lengthwise so you have the longest possible orientation. Then sitting on a chair, feet flat, knees bent about 90 degrees, sitting up tall without resting on the backrest if you are able, with the elbows at 90 degrees and the hands floating just above the thighs. Place the strap or the belt or the towel in the palms of your hands and then close into fists, and then you're going to perform an isometric, which is to pull out gently to firmly, equally as possible, on the strap or belt. Hold for a few seconds and then relax. We'll repeat that a few times. Keep in mind as you're doing this that your chin should be level with the horizontal, the ground. You should be breathing in a relaxed manner, and you should be squeezing your shoulder blades a little towards your spine as you pull out. You can see the thumbs are pointing the direction that is being pulled. From a slightly different angle, front on, you can see that the hands are not very close together because the forearms are parallel with each other, so that you have a square between your trunk, forearms and the belt. And you apply that pressure, pulling out. You can do it lightly or firmly, as long as you're doing it symmetrically is key. Repetition number is based on what you can tolerate, using previous exercise programs provided to you as a guide for the number at which to start. This is the pillow press exercise. Find a fairly lofty or firm pillow, fold it and place it on your lap. Sit on a chair with the feet flat, thighs horizontal, hips at 90 degrees, sitting up as tall as you can, preferably without leaning back or letting elbows touch armrests. From this position, the pillow press, you simply slowly press down on the pillow, deflating the air out of the pillow, keeping the motion symmetrical. Hold it a few seconds. You should be able to breathe normally while doing this, and then release the air so that the pillow reinflates, and then reapply pressure. You should be able to breathe normally with your diaphragm. This is a core exercise and a triceps exercise, so the muscles at the back of your upper arm and the core abdominal muscles at the front of your abdomen. We can also change this to be an alternating exercise where we press down on one side and then release that, press down on the other side and release. This gets us to target the oblique muscles around the side of the trunk a little bit more rather than the abdominal muscles at the front. The number of repetitions, what you can tolerate, using previous exercise prescriptions as a guide. Just remember to keep that chin level and breathing in a relaxed manner as you go. This was the pillow press exercise. This is the hot shoelaces exercise. Seated in a chair, you scoot forward towards the edge so that your feet are at level and knees at about 90 degrees. This is as if you were going to tie your shoelaces. So we're going to reach down towards the shoelaces, and then if your shoelaces were hot, you'd bring the back of your hands up towards the ceiling. Hold them a couple of seconds and then go back down and check if the shoelaces are still hot, too hot, take them back up. We're not trying to get super high, we're just trying to get hands parallel and forearms parallel to the floor. The elbows are about 90 degrees. And you'll feel this at the back of the shoulder and in the mid-back. This is another shoulder and posture exercise. If you cannot reach your shoelaces, or it is uncomfortable to bend down without some extra support, you can put a pillow on your lap and then do the same exercise. Again, this is prescription based on number of reps previously tolerable or given in other exercise programs in your history. After you finish, return to the sitting up position. And this was hot shoelaces exercise. This is the chair dip exercise. Find a comfortable chair that is an armchair, that is not too wide, that is firm and not on wheels. It is okay to do this out of a wheelchair as long as the leg rests have been taken off and the brakes are on. Place the hands on the armrests, feet flat on the floor. Assume a position as if you're about to get up from the chair, and then take the weight into the arms, straighten the elbows, and then lower yourself back down. This is an exercise that requires repetition for arm and trunk strength. To make the exercise easier, slide the heels back underneath. This will put more weight through the legs and less through the arms. To make it much harder, slide the legs out further, which will force more weight into the arms. This is for the triceps and the trunk. If this is too difficult because the elbows are too bent in the starting position, you can raise the seat up or get on a higher seat or level, in which case your arms will be less bent at the start, making it an easier exercise. This is the chair dip exercise. Hopefully those exercises and stretches made sense to you. You can always rewind the video to watch each section at a time to follow the instructions given. It does take some practice to do these exercises, and they may seem fairly straightforward on face value, but once you do them a few times you realize that actually I can get a decent workout from this set of exercises. Remember that safety is important, pacing yourself for fatigue management is important, and maintaining a correct and neutral posture, particularly of the neck and head during these exercises, and also breathing at an even rate and not holding your breath is very important. Remember, these will just tide you over. At the very start, we talked about some things to think about in terms of previous exercise routines, and then once the COVID restrictions cease and you can gain access to your full healthcare team, to go back to them and start to develop a specific program for you. If you have any questions, you can always ask them in the comments below. Otherwise, I'm contactable through Polio Australia, and I'll look forward to seeing you in the next video.